Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Karen Weaver. My guest today is Dr. Jill Murray, the ninth and first female president of Lackawanna College. Since taking the office of the presidency in 2020, she's transformed the institution through innovation, growth, and bold leadership. From spearheading an award-winning esports program, that's interesting, to forging groundbreaking partnerships and driving national recognition, Dr. Murray has positioned Lackawanna as one of the most innovative colleges in the country. Jill, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Nice to be here. It's very exciting to talk to you. I can't wait to dig into this today. Thank you.
So, when I saw the news back in June of this year that Lackawanna was making the nearly unheard of jump from NJCAA to NCAA Division II and joining one of the strongest conferences in the country, my jaw dropped. And I did a little research. It sounds like you're only the third university or college in the country to ever do this. Wow. So let's talk about this.
And the first one with a football team.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
So yes, it was an exciting journey. Karen, we had an opportunity to think about this pre-COVID. We were really moving in the direction of thinking about transitioning from the NJCAA to the NCAA. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm sure a lot of your audience would be familiar with it. And the NJCAA was a perfect fit for us for many, many, many years. Tremendous sports teams, tremendous talent. We've been to national championships in football and basketball, and we won a couple of championships in national championships in esports. And we've had really phenomenal athletics teams and tremendous athletes. And so we thought that the Division II model was a really good fit for us because of that level of competition and the level of, especially with the PSAC Division II, when we talked to them pre-COVID. And we were just kind of finding our way. We hired a consultant and thought, this could be an interesting journey for us. And then COVID hit and everything took a back seat. And then, about a year and a half ago or so, maybe a little more now, Steve Murray called us and said, "Hey, would you be interested?" And we said, yes, it's a perfect time with our merger with Pierce College, expanding our academic offerings, now master's degrees. We thought it was a perfect time and a perfect fit.
So Steve Murray is the conference commissioner for the PSAC, the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. They also had a departure, which created an opening for you. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
And that was Mercyhurst,
Yes.
who decided to leave Division II and go to Division I.
Correct.
So this is exactly. So this is consistent with this shifting landscape of which presidents have to be attuned to in this upside down world. The Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference used to be just in Pennsylvania, but it has since broadened its horizons. Do I have that correct?
Yes, but it's mostly in Pennsylvania, which is fantastic for us, right? I'll give you an example. This past week, I made to travel to Utah, play football, Snow College.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the NJCAA, as good as it is and a wonderful fit as it has been for us. There's many things happen in the junior college world of athletics, as you know, Karen. I'm not telling you anything different, including the stability of the teams throughout the season. And there aren't many NJCAA football teams, Division I football teams that we can play. So we had to travel all over the place. The PSAC, Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference, is pretty much within the state boundaries. There's a couple, little outliers, but it's a 2 to 3 or to 4 hour window of travel as opposed to going to Utah. And we thought that was a really good fit for us. And the level of competition, the PSAC, PSAC is tremendously competitive. And we think we'll be able to enter and give everybody a run for their money.
Yeah. I mean, in the PSAC, you have very large campuses like Westchester, very small campuses like Edinburgh and that type of thing. So it's a wide range of competitive opportunities. Okay, so let's talk about football a little bit. Your campus has had a remarkable transition from taking athletes at the 2-year level.
Yes.
To the Division I level.
Yes.
In fact, I did a little research. I found 10 Lackawanna College transfers, but not only transferred to Division I, they transferred to Division I FBS, including Penn State. Talk a little bit about that.
It's been a crazy ride for us. We have our coaches is Mark Duda, he's a Hall of Fame football coach, played for the St. Louis Cardinals way back in the day. Actually, he was the guy that knocked Ron Jaworski out of the NFL, broke his ankle, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, Mark has been with us now over 30 years. So he has both an eye for talent, an incredible way of developing, these boys into young men. And we have a great model to develop these young kids into better students. And that model, together with his contacts, he's good friends with James Franklin, and he's got all these other coaches that he's very good friends with at West Virginia and Oklahoma, et cetera. And so they come looking for our students. And he's built a reputation. We've had, I don't know, 22, 23 players over the years in the NFL. And so we've really developed that great pipeline. And just as they begin to mature in year 2 and year 3, they leave us. And so we thought this is a great opportunity for us to keep these great young men and women who are playing other sports, to see them through their maturity, their years of maturity, and then tap into their leadership. Instead of leaving us, they get to stay with us. And we think that because of the chaos, surrounding all of the NIL issues in Division I, that Division II is a perfect place for us to really develop talent, leadership, and the competitive landscape, I think, is going to be really fun. It's going to be a really fun journey, and we think we'll be right there with everybody.
So when does your first year happen in the PSAC?
So we'll play a Division II schedule starting next year. There is a lengthy, as you probably know, there's a long window before you actually are into the PSAC. It's a 2 to 3 year window, depending on how the structure goes. But we'll begin to play that Division II schedule next fall. So we're really excited about that.
Let me just step back for a second. What's the size of your campus in terms of undergraduate students? And I know that you currently have 10 sports teams. So
Yes.
talk about that a little bit.
Sure. We're now above 2,500 students, which is fantastic. Way back when I started in 2008, I think we were just under 1,000 students. So we've really done a great job with our strategic expansion, and athletics has been a big part of that for us. We have just a very small portion of our student body that are resident students. There's only about 300 or so residents. Most of them are athletes.
Okay.
And so, we're able to really be able to develop them. They're in a really nice environment together with each other. And so they get to learn together. They get to live together. They get to live in an environment. They get to eat together, all of the things that happen with wonderful aspects of college athletics. And so as we begin now the transformation to a 4-year model, we'll probably keep around the same number of housing units, but we'll have the ability for students to now live off campus and
Okay.
develop, a different level of awareness around college life and community life.
And the 5 sports you have are equally divided between men and women,
Hmm.
but you've also got a lot more football players than any other team. So
Yes.
how do you manage that dynamic on campus?
It's an interesting model. Due to our football coach, is very committed to helping these young men become stronger students. The athletic or the academic qualifications for Division II are much more rigorous than the NJCAA model. So, to come into that Division II model, you have to have a certain GPA. That's not true of the NJCAA.
Okay.
And so, we take a lot of students who need some developmental help, some basic skills in academics, and we begin to grow them. So we have a pipeline of students who both learn to be great athletes out of the jump with a great academic experience. We have others who are learning to be students, and we have others who are kind of in between. We have about 100, a little more than 100 football athletes, student athletes on our campus. They generally live together in the dorms, but we have a tremendously difficult, rigorous academic experience for them. We have tremendous faculty and a lot of support around these athletes and all our athletes as we go through this process. So it's been a fun ride with the NJCAA, and we're looking forward to probably taking the number of football athletes down a little bit as we expand our athletic portfolio, in ways that the NJC doesn't have all the sports that the NCAA has. So we'll be able to expand, take down that number of athletes.
All right, so let's talk about that a little bit because some of these schools, I think Westchester might have 18 or 20 sports. So are you under the idea in the long range you want to add more sports so you can grow that athlete population?
Yes, I think we absolutely want to grow those sports and the opportunities for students to come to us. So, in northeastern Pennsylvania and Scranton, we have the high school population of athletics and athletes is tremendous. And most of them did not want the junior college experience. They wanted the 4-year experience. They want the 4-year experience. So we think we can tap into a lot of our local and regional tremendously gifted athletes as well. So that's going to help us. And we're going to expand. We're going to start slow: golf, cross country, tennis. We're going to add those sports, a little bit more manageable for us as we kind of dip our toe into the Division II world. But lacrosse, field hockey, all of those things that track and field, we want to expand the opportunities for athletes because we think, the great athletic culture that we have, not just at the college, but in our region. I think our community is hungry for this level of competition, and a Division II school will be the only Division II school in our region.
Yeah.
It's going to be really fun for our
Yeah,
community.
you've got Mansfield. How far is Mansfield from you?
Mansfield's an hour and a half, maybe a little more. I think the closest one, I don't know what would be the closest one. Probably Westchester no, I'm sorry, Stroudsburg. It's about an hour away. Oh, I think you're on mute. There you go. Sorry about that.
You're in northeastern Pennsylvania, but you're also close to New York City, New
Yes,
York State, northern New Jersey. Would you draw from those areas as well?
we hope so.
Okay.
I think that that's a goal for us. As I mentioned a little bit ago, we merged with Pierce College in Philadelphia, and we took Pierce over this July. And so we have a strong presence in Philadelphia. We've had a strong recruiting presence in Philadelphia prior to going to Division II. So our name is known, our brand is known, athletic brand is known certainly in Philadelphia. And we hope to really tap into that market and that southern New Jersey, northern New Jersey area. Upstate New York, we've recruited from there for many years. So we think we're going to have a really expanded portfolio of opportunities for students from all across our region, and look forward to that.
So take me back to pre-COVID, and you're starting to think, okay, maybe we need to think differently with the students we want to recruit, the athletes we want to recruit. If COVID hadn't happened, would this process have looked any different than it has so far?
That's a great question. I think, I'll try to answer it this way.
Okay.
We did not have the expanded portfolio of academic programs and support that we do today. We knew we had to work through that and beef up our academic programs for our student athletes, for sure. Now, with the addition of master's degrees through our merger with Pierce, that helps, that 5th-year athlete and so on. And that really does a lot for us. So I think the timing made us think a little bit more, and we were much more strategic when we came out of COVID. We knew exactly where we needed to go, how we needed to do it. And the merger was part of that strategic opportunity for us. And so everything that we did sort of tied in together and just made sense at that moment. I would say to you, though, that, the discussion, we started having discussions with our board pre-COVID around the move to Division II. We thought that, or at least the NCAA, we weren't sure it was going to definitely be Division II. We thought that would be much more aligned with our competition status and how we were going to structure athletics going forward. But we weren't sure. And so our board, although a couple of members have changed throughout, the people rolling off and new people coming on, we've had that conversation consistently. So when we had the opportunity after conversations with Steve and the PSAC, it was a natural fit and they weren't surprised by it. In fact, they embraced it and they were just like, let's go for it.
You go, you go. So I spent 2.5 years as an athletic director at a community college, Cecil College in Maryland, and I realized how important the coaches are to the players' transitions from the 2-year to the 4-year. Will your coaches focus in the same way, or do you think they'll change their mindset? Because obviously they want to retain them for 4 years. How does that work?
I think there's going to be I think there's going to be a big change in mindset, right? I think it has to be because the way that they've operated in the past was getting students ready to transfer.
Yeah.
And so that's a really different way of thinking about development of athletes. And now that we get to keep them, I think we've all have to expand our coaching roster. And those coaches will, we were hoping, obviously, that they will have some stronger experience, some strong experience with that 4-year model in a way that maybe some of our coaches have not. And I think that's going to be a real change for them. But I also think they're looking forward to it. They, as much as they love the recognition as students go to Division I programs or FBS schools, it's wonderful. They lose their talent and they lose their leadership and they lose some of these great kids that we all wish would stay and help our new students coming up, kind of learn the ropes and be leaders in a way that fosters that development.
I know a few of my listeners are thinking to themselves, well, why didn't you go to Division III? There's a lot of Division III schools in Pennsylvania. Was that part of the process?
So it definitely was a consideration for us. All of the schools, all of the colleges and universities around us are Division III. And we like the Division II model, I think, for a couple of different reasons. One is the ability to offer scholarships to our athletes. And I think the second really was about, well, there's a couple of reasons. The second is the Division III athletic competition has a different level than Division II. And we think that because we've had such strong athletic programs that the Division II competition level would fit us a little bit better and challenge us a little bit more. And I think, the PSAC in Division II, that life and balance philosophy that they espouse so greatly and they teach, we thought that was just a wonderful way to look at it. For us and for athletics, scholarships, heavy competition, making us better, making us stronger, the ability to travel a little bit more in state or a little bit more focused travel for us would be wonderful.
Not Utah, not Utah.
And and developing that community sense of competition where there's in-state rivalries rather
Yeah.
than in-city rivalries. And while that's a great thing, and we love our Division III counterparts in our region, we thought Division II was just a better fit for us.
Yeah. Okay. So big changes in terms of compliance, rules compliance, big changes with name, image, and likeness.
Yes.
It's coming. Big changes in roster structure, eligibility structure, the opportunity to transfer more freely without having to have a bachelor, an associate's degree. All those things. How do you factor those in? You
It's
have
a big change. It's a big change, and it requires a much more expanded infrastructure. And the architecture of that infrastructure becomes very important for us. And we've been in touch with a couple of other schools who have great models and who've been mentors for us, as well as Steve helping us try and figure out what the structure looks like for our college in particular. And while there's consistencies in many ways, there's still
yeah.
little subtle differences. But obviously, the compliance structure is much more rigorous and
Yes.
it's much more extensive. I think just the internal governance that we have, with our faculty athletic representatives, our senior women's administrators, I, it's a tighter model, and I think I'm looking forward to the infrastructure being the support structure that's necessary for these student athletes in a way that we have not had before. We have not had that model. I'm looking forward to using that model as a way to more effectively develop our student athletes.
Okay. So speaking of your FAR, they have a lot to get up to speed on too. So how do you select that person? How do you get them up to speed?
There's a committee. We formed a committee. Our athletic director, Eric Larson, who is phenomenal. He's just terrific and is spearheading all of this, has really been kind of digging into what's the best way to select. How does the process work? When that representative is selected, how do we onboard them? How do we keep developing them? How do we begin to have them? Because it's faculty love our athletics and our athletes, but governance, that representative, is a different
Yes.
kind of idea. So they have to be willing to hold students accountable in a different way than just liking an athlete, right? And while they're an advocate for our athletes, I think having to develop that FAR in a different way, I think is going to be really an interesting process for us. We're kind of documenting how all that's going to work, and I'm anxious to see how it all plays out as well.
I think it'll be very interesting. The other thing, the FAR can be a conduit to the faculty themselves to explain
Yes.
how this process is going and why things are changing and why the new rules require this.
I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Higher ed is in complete chaos right now, right?
Yeah.
It's a crazy town. And so I think the more we have advocates on the faculty side who can explain athletics in a different way and compliance in a different way and governance in a different way, I think our faculty will really respond well to that. And having that conduit, as you said, I think that's a great word, will help all around in terms of governance and structure and infrastructure. And that architecture becomes even more important, how we build it, why we're building that the different levels of foundations, so that as our accrediting bodies come and look at us, which they do often, we'll be able to show all these levels of compliance and governance and accountability on the faculty side, on the student side, on the administrative side. I think all those levels really make a big difference.
Yeah. And your conference will play a role in that too, much
Yes.
more so than the NJCAA
Yes.
region you are part of. Yeah.
And Region 19 has been great. I really want to say that they have been terrific. I think just as you know, with the community college, the junior college structure is so difficult to maintain throughout the seasons, and with things changing so dramatically and rapidly with budgets and enrollment, and it's been a challenge for us. So we're looking forward to the PSAC.
So, speaking of budgets, I had a quick look at your Equity and Athletics Disclosure Act, your EAD. I think it's from a couple of years ago, but it looks like you've got about a $3 million budget. Do you think that's going to be enough to do what you want to do, or are you going to have to find more money?
We're gonna have to find more money. Our chief finance guy is like, my God, we're gonna need a couple more $1 million. I said, yes, we are. Yes, we are. And
Yes.
the, I think that if there's good news about the process, how long it takes to get to, the final step of Division II, that allows us to sort of step into a graduated budget process where we know we have to bring in more students. We know we have to increase our infrastructure. We know that, probably going to add $2 to $3 million to that budget for sure.
Yeah. So, how do you plan that out with your CFO? I mean, that's significant in in this era.
It is. So we have, as you know, we've grown a lot, Lackawanna, over the past several years. Tremendous opportunities for us. We throw a lot of spaghetti against the wall, and we're lucky that a lot sticks. But we're very intentional. We're very strategic. We have an incredible leadership team, and our cabinet is very strategic. So John's our CFO, and Ed Steinmetz, they're not alone. We all have big shoulders, and we all sort of carry that burden together. And so as we begin to plan out how we're going to add those dollars to the budget, we also know that we have to grow our institution. And we have to grow our institution through different ways. What are the revenue streams that we need to both grow or tap into that's going to make that happen? So our CFO and our, business office team kind of gives us, what does this look like? And then we come up with together, all of us, the ways to make that happen. Which includes not doing some of the things that we have been doing with maybe other programs or other athletic programs. How are we going to do this in a responsible, ethical way that ensures everyone gets that same kind of that shot to be able to prove their worth? And so shifting resources from one area to another is certainly another possibility. We have to be efficient. We have to be effective. We've done that for years, and we think we can continue to do it that way.
Do you think this will have any impact on your esports program?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. And our esports program is huge.
Yeah.
We're well over, I think, 70 plus students now. Uh, we're hoping to get that up to over 100 students. There's so many games and so many teams that they can play on. And then inside those teams, you can have team A, team B, team C, which is really fun. I stumbled upon esports in 2018 and thought, oh my gosh, when I found out that, other colleges were giving scholarships and it kind of is the wild, wild west, right? Because we can play 4 year sports. We can play junior college sport. There aren't many governance models resting with these sports,
Right.
including in the NCAA.
That's right.
So that's a really good opportunity for us to be able to tap into a whole different genre.
Yeah, for
Students,
sure.
that's an interest. Let me tell you, that is a very interesting group. It was our first national championship team in Rocket League in 2022 and
My
23.
gosh.
And it's just a fun, the students that tap into esports are so different. They're so diverse. They come from all walks of life, men and women. So there's a wonderful opportunity there. And we structure it very much like all of our other sport. They have study halls, they have mandatory study halls, they have workout sessions, they have all kinds of strategy sessions. So there we structure it's under athletics. It's not, some colleges have it under student affairs, and we decided to structure it under athletics, and I can't wait to see where this goes. This is
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. One of the last questions I want to ask you about is your board. You've got to bring your board along with all of this. At what point did you start engaging with them? And then how are they adjusting? And do they have any areas of pushback that they're concerned about?
one of the things that I believe we do well as an institution is have tremendous transparency with our board well before any internal decisions are made or proposals that come to our board for vote and approval. So we, as I said before, we began talking with them pre-COVID about a potential move. We explained and had a couple of different presentations, both from Steve Murray, who came in and presented to our board, as well as some other college presidents who are Division II, joined remotely and did presentations to our board. We did this sporadically throughout so that they were really aware of the infrastructure that it's going to take, the resources that are going to be allocated, the facilities plan that we now have to make, right? So, and then the academic infrastructure that's going to be necessary, and they were ready. So by the time we had the invitation from the PSAC, they knew everything that we could possibly tell them that we knew about what the process looked like, how important it was for us as an institution to make that decision, right? To either say yes or no, we're gonna try and ride out the NJCAA and see what happens. So we made our case well throughout the last couple of years, so that when it came time just a few months ago to say to the board, okay, this is it. We have to make a decision. Yes, NCAA. Yes, is it going to be Division II? Is it going to be Division III? How are we going to do that? They had all the information they needed to have and felt like they made a very responsible decision, and they're behind us 100%, including now having to make a facilities plan and infrastructure plan to grow our athletics programs.
Gotcha. I think that's a very big part of it too, is that your board is behind you.
Yes.
Because if they're not, it can create all kinds of problems. And you're right, it's going to cost more money. So
Yes.
you find it. That's a challenge.
And I think for this world of higher education, this chaos, if there's anything that is pretty steady for us, it has been athletics. And it has been a wonderful source of alumni pride for us, and it's been a really good model. We've learned a lot over the past 20 years, but certainly the last 10, with students now coming out of COVID who were COVID kids in high school. We've had to learn and grow and shift and adjust our support networks and our support staff. There's a lot of things that we didn't do prior to COVID that we now have a more heavily investment structure in, for example, mental health and wellness. And so I think, the board has been really, really wonderful to help us get there. And we were prepared. If they said no, then we weren't going to do it. And we were ready to live with that. So I think we did a good job presenting to them well in advance in a structured way, consistent information, and they were able to make that decision.
My final question, which I always ask presidents on this podcast, is what do you think a new president who might be contemplating this process needs to think about?
Well, they need to think about a lot. certainly what division, if you're going to make the move from an NJCAA to an NCAA, what division is your best fit? Number one. Number two, board transparency and getting your board up to speed quickly, or at least consistently, in helping them understand the case for the move. That's really, really, really important. And then, you have to understand there's going to be resources that need to be devoted to this. And that means fundraising. And that means partnerships. And it means trying to figure out what are the other, is there a Comcast partnership in your future? Is there how do we get NIL money more effectively? Because as we know, these Division I schools probably aren't recruiting exactly the same way as they were in high school because they have the portal. And so Division II athletics is going to become really important.
Yes.
Recruiting these high school students. And so NIL money needs to be considered. So there's lots of, and the infrastructure, the architecture of that infrastructure requires a heavy investment.
Yeah.
You got to be ready.
You are spot on so many things. I could not agree more. Jill, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me and my students and others talking through this momentous decision for your institution.
Thank you, Karen. It's been a wonderful experience. And I'm so thrilled to be able to talk to you. You're legendary and your reputation precedes itself. So thank you for the honor of being with you today.
A good deal.